morning. I'm going down to the mayor's wing afterwards.
I think so. Maybe a table, have a few drinks or something.
Hey, Matt.
Do you not have your new?
You don't have your new.
Oh,
I thought that'd been done a long time ago.
well, this one still works. I figured we might just wait till after the election. And I thought that maybe was going on.
No, because when he got his, it wasn't. There was two set up at once, and since you guys utilized them the most, you two are going to get them first.
Oh, okay, yeah. And this one is yours. It's got the case. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You probably got one too.
Well, no, now that I got this, it works a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
A lot better.
Okay.
When I
It has
just
a
got this,
keyboard.
You had to stick it in.
I have a keyboard for that.
I never used it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me know that because I thought it'd been done.
Good evening. It is 5:30 according to Verizon time, so we're going to call the regular council meeting to order. And we're going to start off by doing the Board of Health first. So Amanda, would you take the roll?
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Approve the minutes for meeting number 6 on October 3rd, 2017 is presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
Move the approval of the minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Matt.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the lot located at 909 West Street. I received no objections on this item.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The property at 909 West Street was placarded May 12th of this year due to lack of utilities and dilapidation. The Health Department first received a complaint about the exterior condition of the house in 2015, and the inspectors attempted to work with the owner to resolve the complaint. But after a year of little or no contact with the owner, staff recommends condemnation of this property.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address the council about this. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 909 West 2nd Street, order prompt demolition, removal and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against property taxes. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 909 West Street.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. At this time, we'd like to move into the regular council meeting. We'll need to adjourn first from the Board of Health. Is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
And I have 5:32. At this time, we'll move into the regular council meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and remind people to turn their cell phones off. Let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amanda, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting 35 on October 17th and special meeting number 36 on October 20th, 2017 is presented. Appointment of Wesley Conrad and Sarah Sells to the Parks Advisory Board, terms to expire September 29th, 2022. And Belinda Medius to the Ottumwa Housing Authority Board, term to expire November 11th, 2018. Appointment of Zachary Simonson to the position of Housing and Code Enforcement Inspector in the Health Department, effective October 23rd, 2017. Appointment of Troy Pilcher, Gabriel Alvarez, and Jesse Elliott to the position of probationary firefighter effective November 8, 2017. Resolution number 236, 2017, setting a public hearing on the council's intent to lease city-owned property hay ground at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Resolution number 238, 2017, setting a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 949 South Sheridan. Beer and/or liquor applications, Casey's General Store number 7, 1001 East Main Street, Stop and Go Drive-Thru, 516 South Madison, and Richmond and Ferry BP, 720 Richmond Avenue, all applications pending final inspections.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Hearing no questions, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
I need an approval for tonight's agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Item D in our agenda is reports from city officers, commissions, and committees. I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris to give us an update on some of the topics he's working on.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, a few items to note, and I've actually added 2 additional items under the reports category. Very first item you see are solar panels. As many of you know, based on the correspondence I've had with Council, I've been working with Scott Hallgren, the Executive Director of Bridgeview, and he and I are looking at the merits and demerits of installing solar panels at Bridgeview, specifically on the roof, installing panels there. He and I have been in contact with a group out of the state of Maryland, the Antares Group, and they have given us a quote for a feasibility study. I'm authorized to spend, I believe the limit is up to $10,000. The split on this would be somewhere between $800 and maybe $1,000. So we would get the feasibility study done relatively quickly. However, as I noted in the weekly report, Larry Seals has the Public Works Director, Larry Seals has a contact with Chris Ball, who is a Public Works Director for the city of Bloomfield. He and I and Finance Director Bob Jay are traveling to Bloomfield tomorrow to visit with him about how their solar panel systems work. So I want to get some comparisons between what the Antares Group has given us, and if Mr. Ball has any recommendations, I certainly want to be open to those and be receptive to his ideas and suggestions. So this may be another item coming back to you, but I want to let you know we are working on this, as I said, right now at Bridgeview Center. The next item you will see is Home-Based Iowa. That is a program that I have been involved in just recently. The mayor has certainly a deeper background in that. So at this time, I would defer back to the mayor to lead this particular topic here.
Well, we're fortunate tonight to have a couple of people in the audience. Terry Bradley, who's a Wapello County Veterans Administrator, and Connie Wilson Hammersley from the Chamber office, and they've been working on a committee for the Home-Based Iowa. So if either one of you or both of you would like to step to the podium and just give us a quick overview of what you're doing and where we're at in this process. You may recall the city did pass a resolution back in October 4th of 16 indicating our willingness to become a home-based Iowa community. There are a number of requirements to meet that designation. And we're also working with Wapello County so that Wapello County and the city of Ottumwa would be both recognized. So I guess Terry or Connie, who's going to start?
Thanks, Connie. My name is Terry Bradley. I'm the Executive Director of Wapello County Veterans Affairs. I do not work for the VA. I work for veterans. I am paid by the county. And I have given you all some light reading. What that tells you is what the veterans on disability and compensation brought into this county last year alone. It's over $7 million. So I think that on a personal level, we want to bring veterans in because number one, we have the jobs, we just don't have the people to do it, and they benefit in more ways than one. So if you have any questions concerning Home-Based Iowa and what it's about, Connie and I would be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Terry. Connie, go ahead.
So we are working in conjunction with Iowa Workforce Development, and we have several businesses that already are corporate sponsors. I would like and invite each of you and anyone who is watching, go to the homebaseiowa.gov website. Please register your business as a supporter. Several of our businesses, Wells Fargo, Casey's, Fairway, Hy-Vee, are already corporate sponsors, but they need to, the stores here need to sign up under the Ottumwa Home-Based Iowa program. Okay, so, and Terry has been out talking to some of them. So the form that I gave you is a form that I made up. We had one of our meetings today. We started filling out the form. We have to have specific incentives from the businesses in the community. I know the fire department, their new hires are all veterans. So the city is doing a great job of making sure that we're doing that. I know Tom, you know, I've sent him the forms, and I know as they're reaching out, veterans will be, you know, at the top of what they're looking for. These veterans are already coming with the soft skills. What we're trying to do with Home-Based Iowa, for those communities that are already in the program, we're looking for veterans to move to our community, to set up, buy homes, bring their families here, and become a part of our community. So we're looking for incentives like maybe our placard housing, where they could go in and remodel and redo it. We could give it a reduced rate, or they could buy a lot for a reduced rate and build a home. We're looking for car detailing. I mean, the most minute things is what we're looking for. Every business in Ottumwa, Iowa, and every municipality in Ottumwa, Iowa, and Wapello County, because this is also Wapello County, they did the proclamation as well, can be a part and support the Home-Based Iowa Veterans Program. So these are going to be good people to our community that already have the soft skills and the work ethic and the ability to learn new tasks. So that's what we're reaching out for. That's what we're trying to do. So we need everybody on board. We need these forms filled out. I need them in my office as soon as possible. I can email them out to anybody who asks and fill them out and then email them back to me so that we can get moving. Does anybody have any other questions? I know this is a lot of information, but we've been working on this for over a year. Go ahead, Terry.
I want to add something real quick. As far as home loans, and if they take a placarded home, they can go to the VA, and the VA will assist them in most cases with this project. So, you know, there's other monies besides the city's money going into this.
Good.
And the SBA is very involved in this as well, and they have a lot of incentives. We have entrepreneurs, veteran entrepreneurs that want to move to Ottumwa. We have a lot of incentives for them. I have a whole packet of things. So I've been to several events over the last year on this. So there's a lot of great resources for our veterans, and Ottumwa can bring the cream of the crop here.
Councilman?
Yeah, I would just like to say that the placarded housing incentive, that's a neat deal, and I don't know whether that'd be an incentive to them or incentive to us to offer.
It's a win-win.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So yeah, these are kind of ideas that can work good for both of us, and I think we should absolutely take this very serious and look at some of these incentives, the no-brainers here, and I'd be happy to work with you. I know for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And like I said, the main thing is get the forms filled out so we have the incentive package together. Andy Ma with our Welcome Center is going to be in charge of holding those portfolios for the veterans once they start coming here. So we definitely have all the points in place. We just need more incentives.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. We'll look forward to having updates periodically, and if you have any questions, either one of them, I'm sure would be happy to give you more detail at a later time.
Okay.
I'll have my phone number, so.
And
Yeah.
Thanks so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that report too, Terry. Andy, I'll bounce this back to you where we want to talk about the
Very good.
industrial roundtable.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just want to make sure, I may have not heard this, but was mention made of the December 7th meeting?
No, it was not.
If you, Mayor, you may want to
We're
handle that.
hoping if we get all of our paperwork into the state and approved by the State Office of Home-Based Iowa, that on December 7th, which is a very special day for veterans, we might have the honor of the governor in town to announce that we have met the requirements and give us a designation as a home-based Iowa community, the city of Ottumwa and Wapello County. So we're really excited about that. Thank you, Andy, for that
Thank you,
reminder.
Mayor. The Industrial Roundtable, as the mayor mentioned, we usually have been having 3 of those a year. I believe this next one we're having tomorrow, as you can see on the agenda. If you have that in front of you, that's November 8th, tomorrow morning at 8, out at Alliant Energy at their North Station. I believe that's Oak Meadow Drive. Again, that is up north. Where the purpose of those meetings is to find out what our manufacturers like, what they do not like, what the city is doing. Again, Kevin Flanagan, our planner, has played a lead role in that with me on a staff level in getting that program off the ground, and it has been useful, and we'll continue that into the next year. The next item you see, primary elections elimination ordinance. As I've indicated to council, the plan of staff was to bring this forth at the next regular council meeting on the 21st, which you may recall about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. I made the statement to council, I wanted to start putting ordinances in front of you so you had time to consider them and you weren't to take action on them that particular evening. Now, you have a memo in front of you from Amanda Valenta, our city clerk, which I think has done a very good job of putting this into context. Staff is recommending from a cost perspective that the city go to straight regular general elections and eliminate the primary elections. There's a cost savings noted, as you will see on the 3rd paragraph of the memo that Amanda's put together, approximately $12,000. In addition to that, there's an attachment. Amanda's gone to the trouble of listing some of those cities that have jettisoned the primary election and gone to straight general elections. Mr. Mayor, at this point, I would certainly turn it over to you and open this up to council if they have questions or comments that they would like to make. Again, staff is not asking for any action on anything tonight regarding this piece of legislation.
Well, I think it's important that council really think this through and talk to each other and talk to people in the community and get a good feel for this. Somebody, I think it was even a Courier editorial that talked about this could change some direction on how we do elections and so forth. But I think it's great to have this discussion and come back after you've had a chance to read the memo here and see what your thoughts are. If there are any comments you want to make tonight, we'll certainly entertain them.
Yeah.
Councilman Myers, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, well, I noticed the memorandum, one of them is dated September 28th and the other one October 9th. And that's the type of thing, I guess, I wish I would have had this in my hands. I understand what the administrator is saying, that we will discuss this at the next council meeting, so I'll have 2 weeks. But in fact, it was in the newspaper that we were going to do this, and I was kind of curious about it because I didn't know we were. But my point being, another point though that I would make, knowing this was coming about, I did talk with Amanda, our city clerk, today, and she gave me quite a bit of information. And the first term that I ran for council, there were like 16, 18 persons who ran for a council position. And had it not been for the primary, I think that would have been quite a task for people to go through just on election day. However, and again, talking with Amanda today, it just disappoints me so much that even in tonight's election, that maybe 7% of those eligible will actually vote. So I guess my point, if there are voting persons who have strong feelings about whether primaries, when you have large numbers, whether that's beneficial or not, hopefully they'll let us individual councilmen know between now and 2 weeks from now when we have our next meeting. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Andy, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the other items you see listed, the next one, not to be confused with Home Base Iowa, the Hometown Rewards Program, is, you probably know, that is a program that allows cities to achieve certain energy savings by undertaking some, let's just say, cost reduction matters. The city made application of this, and I want to add, if I might, a great deal of credit, and not all the credit goes to Jody Gates, quite frankly, for putting together the correspondence with Alliant Energy. The city was approved as a community to participate in this program. I believe it's a rather small number, but we were approved on the 9th of August, and there's a letter that verifies that. Just a very brief summary. we are looking at additional members to serve on the steering committee. I think at present we have 4 or 5, if memory serves me correctly, and we need about 4 more. So if you would, council members, give some thought to reaching out to folks. We'll continue to do that as well to find people to serve on this committee. They will provide guidance to, quite frankly, the administrative staff, such as Jody, myself, and Janice Bain, about undertaking some of these cost-saving measures. But it's a very good program, and again, a great deal of credit to Jody and her staff for securing this. This was required a great deal of work. The last 2 items are not listed on the agenda, so I'll go ahead and just read from my notes. The first one is the Finance Committee. As you may recall, the Finance Committee was something that council members indicated to me when I came on board 2 years ago they wanted to have formed. The Finance Committee would provide guidance and direction and perhaps even some recommendations as to municipal finance matters. I've worked with finance committees in 2 previous communities that I've managed. Councilman Rowe has played a lead role in putting forth the finance committee, the formation of them. One of the items I want to stress, they are advisory only. They do not make legislative decisions, and nor do they make directions for staff or council to carry forward. There are a list of names that have been presented to me. Primarily, most of the names I have are from Councilman Rowe. I have shared that more than a couple times with the rest of the council members, so you know what the names are. If you want to add to that list, I'd be careful to try and keep that at 6 or 8 if we could. I don't want to make this too large. The staff people that would be on there would be Finance Director Bob Jay and myself, but I feel very strongly this committee can provide some guidance to our financial matters and perhaps recommendations on programs. The last item I have listed is the website. In my correspondence of this last week and the week before, as you're probably aware, our website needs to be upgraded and updated very badly. I've been working with 2 entities. One of them is Civic Plus and the other is Hill Productions. Let me first of all say before I go forward, Edward Wilson, our IT person, has really played a lead role, and it's been a very good source of information to lean upon. What I'm suggesting that council take, my recommendation is that we move on, quite frankly, selecting one of these firms, or perhaps another firm even, to undertake the rewriting, the revamping, and the updating of our website. I'm going to suggest after the first year that we handle this. As some of you may recall, when we were looking at retail recruitment in the summer before last, one of the items that we leaned on was we had presentations from the Buxton Group, and then we had presentation later from Retail Strategies. I'm going to make that same suggestion that if we hear from, and I know we'll hear from Civic Plus, we will also hear from Hill Productions. There may be another entity that we deal with. Don't have them at the same meeting where they're comparing, contrasting, and arguing over whose website is better or who is, least expensive. But that is something that I do want to see us move on. There is money allocated in the budget. Finally, on the website, I want that to be something that both staff and council have a chance to review. So when it is drafted, there's no such thing as a perfect website, but I don't want you to look at it for the first time after we've paid for it. So that is something that the staff will be moving on, as I said, as we move into the next calendar year. That's all I have, Mayor, unless you or
Thank you, Andy.
have any questions.
Item E in our agenda is opportunity for audience to talk about any item that's on the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to address an item on the agenda? Connie?
Can I address Andy with the website? Could you make sure the home-based Iowa link is on the city's website? I would greatly appreciate that.
Sure. The current website, yes, we'll do that.
Okay. All right, then let's move to item F, department recommendations.
Ottumwa Comprehensive Plan RFP. Recommendation, release the RFP for publication and advertisement.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Kevin. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you can see, the important date for us is January 16th, most important date on the comprehensive plan front page. That's when we will hopefully close our RFPs, and we look forward to interviewing finalists through February, maybe early February, and picking consultants by March 1st. But I would entertain any questions that members may have.
Are there any questions for Kevin?
Kevin, on the time frame on this, just so the public's aware, how long does one of these usually take?
Around 8 to 12 months is the average.
Okay,
Some have taken 14 months. Hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah. And we're planning on putting some community, folks together, different committees like we did last time in early 2000s to do the same way.
That's right. We'll have a general committee, what we're going to call a CPAC, which is a Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. And that will be made up of your chairmen or your designated members of different boards and commissions that would serve as that greater body. They'll meet, we will meet hopefully around December and January, a couple times before we get this RFP in. A small group of people will be chosen from that general group that would interview finalists, hopefully 2 to 3 finalists out of the RFP responses that we get. And out of that advisory committee also will be each of the chairmen of our subcommittees who will basically do most of the work and would meet anywhere from, once every week for a little while here and there, or once every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the work is going over the particular element that they're working on, whether it be transportation or economic development or housing, about 11 different elements there. So all the meetings that occur during the whole process of the comprehensive plan, putting that together, doing the work, are public meetings. They'll be announced as all public meetings are. We hope that we have a large group of citizens that actually not only are on the advisory board, that also come to meetings and take part actively from our trades people in the community to, we just hope it's not a group that's only, department heads and heads of boards and commissions that are normally involved in public meetings and processes.
Yes, Andy?
Mr. Mayor, just one question on this. Kevin, you and I have corresponded on this previously, and I appreciate the segment you include in the comp plan that speaks to the issue of public participation. Do you have a number or anticipate the number of public meetings we would have to gain public input?
Specifically to gain public input, it's hard to say, really. It's community assessment's a large part of the beginning of the process when you're doing a comprehensive plan. I would assume I've had as many as 12 in different locations of a county when I did one on a county level. I think we would hope to have those at different locations within the city, at least 6 open meetings, just trying to discern and get groups of people in. But you also have individual meetings with different constituencies, per se, ecumenical council perhaps, among others. And also there'll be direct surveying of citizens through different types of media. Some of that will be mailing, of course, but some of it hopefully online, and doing direct assessment of opinions and attitudes amongst the community about provision of services and facilities.
That's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Award the contract for the 2017 RFP number 6 utility access adjustments and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract to McClure and Company Concrete, amount of $14,875, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project consists of the adjustment of several utility accesses on our HMA overlay streets in various locations within the city of Ottumwa. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on October 25th, 2017 at 2 p.m. 6 sets of plans were distributed and 3 bids were received. The low bidder is McClure and Company Concrete of Flores, Iowa, the amount of $14,875. The proposal was sent to the following 6 that are listed, and the project is being funded through the sewer fund balance.
Okay. Any questions for Larry? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Bid report and contract award for asbestos removal and demolition of 306 Ottumwa Street and 821 West 2nd Street. Recommendation, accept the bid and approve the contract to Dan Larson.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented. Second.
Thank you. Good evening again, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We accepted bids for this project until 2 p.m. October 30th, and we received 4 bids. And Dan Larson submitted the best bid for the sum of $38,700. $999, and we're recommending that the council approve that.
Are there any questions for Jody? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed sale of 343 East Park Avenue, Ottumwa, Iowa. I've received no objections on this item.
Okay. We'll recognize Gene Ratchey, our Parks Director, who's responsible for this property. Gene, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city of Ottumwa currently owns 343 East Park Avenue. Ottumwa, on behalf of the Cemetery Board of Trustees, pursuant to council approval, the board placed the real estate for sale with a licensed realtor. A purchase agreement from Alan Stubbs has been received for the sum of $54,080, with the seller paying $2,080 in closing costs. The cemetery board is requesting that the sale be approved and believes the offer establishes the fair market value of said real estate. Attached is a copy of the purchase agreement.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to address this item, now's the time to step up. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 217, 2017, accepting the purchase offer and approving the sale of 343 East Park Avenue, Ottumwa, Iowa, to Alan M. Stubbs. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 217, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Gene? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed development agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Environmental Edge for property located at 2801 Romer Avenue. I received no objections on this item.
Good evening, and Jody, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Bids for the sale and redevelopment of 2801 Romer were accepted until September 26th. We received 4 bids and determined that Environmental Edge submitted the best bid in the amount of $10,100. The company's intention is to rehab the property if possible, or demolish the structure and construct a new building if they don't deem it financially feasible to rehabilitate the property.
This also is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to address this item? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 231, 2017, accepting the bid and approving the development agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Environmental Edge for property located at 2801 Romer Avenue. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 231, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed development agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Washington Apartments. I've received no objections on this item.
Go ahead, Jody, you have the floor.
As part of this development agreement with Washington Apartments LLP, they will construct a 52-unit apartment building on the former Washington Junior High School property, and the city will provide up to $390,000 in tax incentives to be paid over a 10-year period, so up to $39,000 a year.
This also is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this issue? Okay, then I entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 232, 2017, approving the development agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Washington Apartments. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 232, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody?
Mr. Mayor, if I can speak for just a moment. One of the items that Jody that we discussed on a staff level is the valuation of the property, and I know Kevin was involved in that. If you would you address the let's just say that reduction in value of the property as initially anticipated?
Oh, between what we thought it was going to be originally
Correct.
and, okay. The current valuation is a bit over $1 million. And initially, when we discussed the valuation of the property with the county assessor, we didn't realize that the valuation for these type of properties was based upon rents, the amount of rent that's received, and not based upon a standard property tax valuation. So I think initially when we talked to the council, we thought that the valuation might be somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million. Is that right? 3 million? And so the valuation declined, but that doesn't really have an impact on our development agreement or on our rebatement, because basically the amount of money taxes that this company is going to receive is the amount of taxes that they pay, no more than that. And so if for whatever reason they don't end up paying $39,000 in property taxes, they will only receive back in rebatement from the city what they paid. And the development agreement reflects that, and they understand that.
Yes, Bob. Jody, so it seems like this has come before us several times, and this is the final development agreement. But did I read that basically that's because of the developer needing a period of time to get the tax credit, the credits that they needed for the project?
I think initially when we brought this to you, it was requesting a resolution of support to make sure that the council was on board with this type of project. Okay. And so that then the developer could submit that along with the grant application. And this is the result of all of the work and the company getting the tax credits. Now we needed a development agreement, so all parties are really clear about what they're going to provide at the end of the day.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I got a quick, just to clear it up for the public's sake, Jody, when we phrase things like the city will provide up to. I don't want to make sure there's no confusion with the public that we're not handing them a check for $390,000. This is the rebatement program, so they're going to pay their $39,000 in taxes. Am I correct? And then we refund that money back to them. So it's basically a tax abatement on that portion of it, right?
It's a tax rebatement.
Right. The taxes they would normally pay.
Because a tax abatement would be that they didn't pay the taxes. They were abated.
Right.
And so in this case, it's a subtle difference, but in this case, they will actually pay their taxes, and then the city will rebate back up to $39,000 a year.
Right.
For 10 years.
So they will pay no taxes on the property then for 10 years, basically.
No, they will pay their taxes.
They will pay them, but we will just turn around and give it right back to them.
Exactly.
So in essence, they won't pay property taxes, basically.
If you want to phrase it that way.
Okay. I just want to make sure the public's clear.
I prefer not to phrase it that way.
I know. I just want to make sure the public's clear, because we hear, all the time about, whether it's appropriate to, incentivize developments
Right.
or, business and stuff like that. And when and the way it's written on here is totally correct, but it is kind of misleading. I just want to make sure that people, understand. It'd be like you paying your property taxes and the city refunding your money back to you.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed disposition of city-owned property located at 576 Crestview. I received no objections on this item.
Go ahead, Jody.
Sealed bids were accepted until October 31st for this placarded house, and 4 bids were received. Richard Slaughter was the best bidder in the amount of $17,777, and staff recommends accepting his offer.
This also is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to address this, seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Resolution number 234, 2017, accepting the offer and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 576 Crestview to Richard Slaughter for the sum of $17,777. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 234, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented. Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Resolution number 235, 2017, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2017 asphalt street repair program. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 235, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening again, Larry. Go ahead.
This is our annual asphalt paving program that was created in 2003. It is a unit price contract that we bid with asphalt tonnage ranges. We use the low tonnage range in each range to establish a base contract amount. The base contract amount exceeds the budgeted funds each year due to the number of ranges that are included in the base contract. The expanded street repair program is funded by the local option sales tax, and the project was awarded to Norris Asphalt of Ottumwa, Iowa, June 6, 2017. Change order 1 decreases the contract sum by $315,009.15 for reduction in the quantity adjusted as bid. That always seems to create some confusion, so I wanted to kind of frame that to where if you look at the bid tab spreadsheet, you can see where we have enough ranges, but we don't do streets necessarily in each of those ranges. Instead, what we do is we fund it to a certain level, and then we program enough streets to get relatively close to that level. What we don't use one year, we roll into the following. So the funding source for this year was $800,000, and of course, the final contract amount is $744,032.05.
Any questions for Larry? I think it's a good summary, and you have a good list of all the streets that have been repaired. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Resolution number 240, 2017, approving change order number 1 and number 2 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving final pay request for the 2015 Sanitary Utility Access Program. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 240, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
This project placed sanitary utility accesses in existing sewer lines and included associated repairs and patchwork. Manholes were placed at locations that had either limited access points or problems prone to plugging or causing increased cleaning maintenance. Change order 1 included force account charges for work done on Center Street. The contractor basically repaired the connection from inside of the Blake's Branch sewer and basically saved the city cost of excavating the street. It also included a lump sum amount to install a manhole on Benton and Second. The non-manhole connection was leaking and caused a sinkhole. Change order 2 adjusted the bid quantities to the as-built quantities in the final contract. Christie Construction of Ottumwa, Iowa completed the above reference work according to the plans and specifications that was bid on April 19, 2017. Receipts for change order 1 were also received on October 4th. The pay app is for $37.90 more than the one signed by the contractor. There's a mathematical error, so we corrected it. This will authorize the release and payment of all retainages.
Any questions for Larry? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Resolution number 241, 2017, approving change order number 1 and number 2 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2015 Catch Basin Replacement Program. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 241, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This is an annual catch basin program that we reconstruct and raise catch basin wells and grates as indicated on the plans and specs that we send out. Again, basins are located on various streets within the city of Ottumwa. Change order 1 adjusts the bid quantities to as-built quantities. Of the 22 catch basins listed on the plans, I don't know if I want to go through all the numbers. We removed few and added some back in, depending on the condition and some other stuff that occurred during the year. The last 2 basins were not constructed because of a line item, force account, and overhead cost that were estimated to reach their budget of $50,000. Change order 2 includes labor and equipment charges for the force account work. The contractor completed the bus reference work on November 9th of 2015. An estimated $5,600 worth of receipts for materials have not been submitted. And what that means is through our department, if they're not tax exempt when we go into these projects, the contractor pays sales tax. And then if he submits his paperwork, the finance department is able to go back to the state and recover that sales tax money. So that's one of the things that we work with depending on how the contract is set up. So basically we end up losing money if we cannot get that back from them because that was included in the base bid. Let's see, the engineering department staff believes the city has gone above and beyond in an attempt to gather all this information over the last year and a half. The city engineers worked a considerable amount of time trying to get this information after multiple requests. This resolution will authorize payment and release of all retainages, and we believe the statutory time for the contractor to file a claim will expire in 30 days from following passage of this resolution. So then you have the original contract amount with the new contract amount being $41,015.42.
Any questions for Larry? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 242, 2017, awarding the contract for the East Main Street Reconstruction Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 242, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Larry.
This project consists of a full depth, full width reconstruction of East Main from Jefferson to Vine Street. This project includes replacement of the sidewalks to an ADA standard, storm and sanitary sewer improvements, and water main replacement. Ottumwa Water and Hydro will reimburse the city of Ottumwa for the associated main installation cost. We're currently looking, because it did come in over budget, this is the second time we let it. On the second letting, we at least did have 4 bids, where the first time we only had 1. Some of the options that we've identified immediately was there is the possibility of narrowing the pavement once we pass the apartment complex that's mid-project. We could also go from an 8-foot sidewalk in certain areas down to a 4. I mean, we're going to look at several different options to bring back and then negotiate with the contractor once we get to that point. Bids were received and opened by the Department of Transportation on September 19th, 2017. 4 bids were received, and the low bidder is Iowa Civil Contracting, Inc. of Victor, Iowa, in the amount of $2,807,073.23. I have the funding broke out down below. And noted that the Ottumwa Water Works share of this project would be approximately $429,704. One of the things that was done in the design was an increased water main in order to help loop down to kind of the Iowa Avenue JBS area.
Any questions for Larry?
I have a couple, Your Honor. Will that be, will you cut both lanes at the same time or just one lane at a time for the reconstruction?
Oh, that'll be actually phased. We have the, in the plans, you can see where we will probably, there's some options with the contractors. They might come in and do the water main first, the entire length, and that would be a moving operation. That's what we kind of assume they'll want to do, where they might have 200 foot of the street because it's in the north parking, and transition all the way through the project and put a temporary surface, meaning basically rock, back down. When they go to do the street reconstruction, it's basically phased from Jefferson. It kind of splits the parking lot for the cabinet place and originally the laundromat. And then there's a middle phase and a final phase. So it's kind of divided to where we have access. There's some temporary accesses that had to also be created. We, again, had quite a few meetings with the business owners in order to come up with a phasing plan.
Okay. Which was my second question. So thank you.
No, we had several different meetings because of the complexity. And prior to this actually starting, we'll sit down and have a public input meeting again, where we bring them all together. We met individually with some and some multiple times.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good question. Any other?
Your Honor, I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
Larry, this may be a little bit off the subject here, but when we do these big projects like this on Main Street and stuff, and, we've heard from different groups and people about bike lanes. Are we attempting to look and see what that would cost, whether it be widening the street or putting 8-foot sidewalks on there as we do these large projects, especially the ones that enter downtown for possible future, so we don't have to go back and, and add or redo? Is that part of the...
We kind of review that in the initial design and kind of weigh, is it worth the cost? I mean, we did go to an 8-foot walk, kind of with the intent that it could be a multi-use area.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
But again, I mean, we're going to come back and take a hard look at this and see if there's a way that we can cut some money. Some of the stuff that kind of surprised us on this one, there was a new requirement to do vibration monitoring on all the buildings. That's why we had some feedback from the original bid that some contractors didn't look at it. It was kind of brand new, at least at that time, to some of those folks. It come in at like an $80,000 bid. That's something that we hadn't included in our original estimate because we wasn't even aware it was going to be required. It's just something that circles and they talk about in the community, and then all of a sudden it's required.
Any other questions? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Resolution number 233, 2017, approve insulating the attic area of the South Fire Station. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 233, 2017.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented. Second.
Okay, Tony, you're up.
Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mayor. Year to year and a half ago, they did an energy audit of most of the buildings in Ottumwa, and they realized the South Fire Station had no insulation in the attic area of that. After talking with the city engineer and the finance director, they projected we probably need to get this done sooner than later for the energy savings it'll be, and that's why we're here.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 3132, 2017, amending the Code of Ordinances by changing the zoning classification on property located at 1116 Trawl Avenue from R1 to R3. Recommendation, pass the second consideration, ordinance number 3132, 2017.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Kevin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. This property we rezoned from an R1 to an R3. It is off Trawl Avenue. I will remind council that there are a couple of agreements that were agreed to in writing with the developer. Number one, that the development shows substantive progress by May 1st, 2019, or the developer owner must return to the Planning and Zoning Commission to ask for an extension on the development. Number two, that a balance of 1-story and 2-story units be built as proposed by developer with illustration at the October 2nd Planning and Zoning meeting. Number three, that these conditions run with the property and pass to all successors and assigns, and any change of said development plan as presented would need the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I would entertain any questions that members may have.
Any questions for Kevin? You'll flag those dates and let us know when they need to be reviewed.
I'm sorry?
You'll flag those dates so that we...
Oh, yes, we will.
Okay. No questions, no concerns. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. If the council would so entertain, let me see if there's any public forum comments. Anybody in the audience that wants to address anything of city business doesn't have to be on the agenda necessarily. Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to move back to item J, which is communications. I just want to call the council's attention to a couple of things. I'd like to have you mark your calendars for November 29th. We're going to have an evening with legislators, and the Iowa League of Cities will be actually leading us with this group of area legislators. We've also had an affirmative response from the Fairfield City Council. They will be present also. We're going to meet at Bridgeview.
And the whole purpose is to help our legislators understand some of the concerns of cities, and especially looking at backfill. We thought this was a little more informal rather than getting into a confrontational type of presentation. So evening of the 29th, I think it starts at, as I recall, 4:30 or 5, and I'll get that information to you later on. The meeting on the 21st looks like it's going to be a busy meeting, and I just want you to be prepared. We're going to have a presentation by the Liberty Elementary School students, the TAG group that they came about a year ago and did a thing on recycling. This year, their focus is on water quality, and they have about a 15-minute presentation that they're going to give to the council, and they may even have a few questions for us. So be prepared for that. Also remind the council and the general public about the Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress dinner and celebration on November 14th. That's next Tuesday night. If you haven't gotten a hold of Katie, please do that. The city will pay for city staff and council's attendance, and should be a good opportunity to meet the new director, TJ Heller, and find out about what's going on in that organization. We're one of the primary funders of that. And last but not least, I'd like to make a comment. A group of us had an opportunity to meet with the principals of the St. Joe building, the owners of the St. Joe building. Actually, it's now Regional Care Hospital Partners. And we have been able to work towards movement on that project, because I know the community has been wondering what's going to happen with St. Joe. All I can tell you at this point, we do not have it in writing yet. We're expecting that any day now. An agreement between the Regional Care Hospital, our local hospital, and Blackbird Investment to do some work on that building. And as soon as we have a letter, I'll share that with the council and city staff. And I think it's going to be a great outcome for the community. So we'll give you more information on that as it comes up. With that, is there any other business? Yes, Victor.
Yeah, I'd like to just mention two things. I'd like to urge the citizens of Ottumwa to be cognizant of their pets this time of year. You know, the temperatures are dipping down. Animals do suffer when they're out too long in the cold, and I've heard a lot more barking dogs. And just in general, you know, people have busy lives, but you can solve a lot of problems just by being aware of having your pet outside when the temperatures are dipping down below freezing. And so, you know, just take care of your pets and be aware of the fact that they need to come inside. And then lastly, Councilman Myers mentioned the 7%. I think that was for the primary election. I guess I would urge citizens, you know, that they have an hour and a half left to vote for the mayoral race and for the seats on city council. And if you haven't exercised your right to vote, you know, you still have an opportunity to get out there and do so. And we'd like to have as many people get out there and share their voice about what they'd like to see in the city of Ottumwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Yes, Bob?
Okay, this isn't official because I'm not an official inspector for public works or anything, but the good news, I was told today out on the North Court project that probably as some of us go home, the stoplights on North Court will be removed. It'll be back to 2-lane all the way. They did pass the sanitation for the new water line, passed all the way up the hill. And then this afternoon, they were doing a pressure test, and they hope within a couple of days, they'll be able to do the sanitation from hill all the way out to the highway. But the good news is, thanks to everybody for your patience. That's been a problem along that whole area for a long time. And very shortly, it should be finishing up.
Thank you. That's a great update. Lastly, I'd like to remind people City Hall will be closed on Friday in honor of Veterans Day, which is actually Saturday, and there is a veterans celebration at the VFW starting at 10 o'clock on Saturday. So if you're free, you're welcome to come down and hear the program and enjoy some lunch with the veterans there. Is there anything else? I'd entertain a motion for adjournment then.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
6:28.